雷の呼吸一の型霹靂一閃
What is happening, guys? Cowboy here, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter World Iceborne build video. And today we're taking a look at Longsword. Now, Longsword got some of the most delicious changes in Iceborne with the introduction of the special Sheath, which we can then go into an EI slash from, or alternatively an EI Spirit slash, which can be used as a counter and chained into Spirit Helmbreaker. Now, the build we're going to showcase today looks to maximize the potential of these two builds, and to that extent, it is a crit draw build, something that we don't see a lot of in World. But with this new moveset, it works out very, very well, does a buttload of damage, and I don't think I have ever felt more anime than using this build in Iceborne. So real fast, just the screenshot of everything before we jump in and discuss it all. Here is everything put together. I do want to point out that the weapon here is variable. You can really run whatever you'd like. However, I would recommend you run some type of elemental longsword because this build is going to innately have crit element, even though elemental damage isn't our focus. Now, the main reason we are running this build is the 4-piece Velkhana set bonus, and that gives us access to something called Frostcraft. An Aura of Frost builds when your weapon is sheathed, raising attack. Needless to say, this works in very, very well with the new longsword playstyle that revolves around constantly sheathing your weapon. Just to put some number perspectives on the board for you guys, right now I have Frostcraft down, so I'm going to wait for the damage counter to go off the screen, or just reset it because I poked the wrong spot. So as you can see, 161 there on that longsword slash, right? Now, if I do the same thing, but wait for all 3 ticks, 192. So essentially, we are getting a 20 to 25% increase on damage. And while that may seem not that useful, when you are constantly sheathing your weapon and going into that, or sheathing your weapon and going into counters, it's very, very easy to maintain that bonus. So instead of it being this occasional 20% bonus you're getting, it's almost a 100% uptime 20% bonus you're getting. So now to look at the gear in particular, we do need 4-piece Velkhana, and to that extent, I'd recommend the helm, the chest, the gloves, and the boots. The boots come with 2 points of crit draw, which is going to be great for this build, along with a level 4 gem slot and a level 1. The gloves come with a point of quick sheath, as well as a point of flinch free. The chest piece comes with 2 more points of quick sheath. Obviously, that just synergizes with our build, as well as a level 4 and a level 1. If you go for the alpha actually looks really good, and it has crit draw in it, but I already had a crit draw gem, so I didn't worry about that. Instead, I just went for the beta for more flexibility and gem slots. And then, of course, the helm, which has access to Divine Blessing. Now, if you're not interested in Divine Blessing, you could, of course, go for the legs instead and gain access to Flinch Free. But 1 level of Flinch Free is enough that you won't get flinched by other longsword users, whereas levels 2 and 3, I mean, they're just not really that necessary. So to that extent, I would prefer taking the helm. Now, as for the waist, we have the Acidic Glavinus Coil Beta, because this has a level 4 gem slot and 2 points of Handicraft, which of course will synergize with our Handicraft Charm level 3, putting us on up to 5 points of Handicraft. Now, I want to point out that this is a build oriented towards really pushing your way into late game. Velkhana is the first Master Rank 5 quest that you get, and beyond her, there is still a ton of content that you still have to tackle. You have a load of variants that start coming in, you have Elder Dragons, you have Guided Lands, and this is a build oriented towards helping to tackle that content, not necessarily a end-all be-all longsword build. The last thing I want to point out here, once again, is the weapon. I'm using the Zinogre Longsword, and this isn't even fully upgraded, but it's still pretty respectable. I would recommend you try to use something with an element, because even though this isn't an elemental build, we have critical element, and we have crit draw, so you might as well take advantage of it. I mean, it's free damage being left on the table if you're not running an elemental weapon. But, you know, elementless is a thing if that's what tickles your fancy. So to go into all the gem slots, we have our handicraft coming in from Glavinus as well as the necklace. That puts us at 5 and into purple and a lot of long swords. You're going to need 3 critical boost gems. If you don't have that, sucks to be you. This game has been out for like a year and a half, should have been farming. Crit draw will come from the gear. I do have a draw gem on, but as I mentioned, one of the alpha pieces has crit draw if you don't have a gem for it. Grinder, we are going to slot on in along with protective polish just to help maintain our sharpness. And then besides that, my last slot, which is going to change depending on your weapon, I tossed in Divine Blessing because it was at level 2. I might as well bump it up to level 3. So the mainstays that we're looking for in this build are the handicraft, putting us on up into purple sharpness, the critical boost, the critical draw, the quick sheath, the speed sharpening, and the protective polish. Divine Boost just happens to be something that's nice because it's on there. And then the spare points you see of like attack, health boost, that's just coming from various level 4 gems. And of course, 1 point in flinch free is actually pretty nice to have because, as I mentioned, it will prevent tripping. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the playstyle of this build. As I mentioned earlier, the EI slash is going to cause your gauge to build on up. So you can go into that, into a fade slash, and then straight into your spirit combo. Sheath. Go back into it again. So, and essentially, it's changing the dynamic of how we're building up our spirit gauge. As you can see, after almost every move, I'm able to go on into that and follow the combo. And you can do that into a Helmbreaker as well. Now, when you get to level 3, there's a couple things you can do. Of course, the main go-to, if I could hit the damn Spirit Thrust on this pillar, is you'll just go Spirit Thrust, into Spirit Helmbreaker, into Sheath, into EI Spirit Slash. However, as I mentioned before, if you are able to time it properly, you could actually go for a EI Spirit Slash, and then from that, go straight into a Spirit Helmbreaker. Now, the most important thing to note with that combo is while it will do a ton of damage, keep in mind that if your EI Spirit Slash is not used as a counter, as in you just let it loose and then try to go for a Helmbreaker, it will cost a bar. And then your Helmbreaker is only going to be hitting as level 2 as opposed to level 3. So keep that in mind. If you can line it up to where you go a Spirit Slash counter into a Helmbreaker, it is a ton of damage you're putting out, but you have to get the timing down and use it as a counter. So either way, let's jump on into a hunt, show you what this thing is capable of. Like I said, biggest thing here is this is anime in its most diluted form in a video game. It is so much fun to play. So make your own sword princess today. So for our hunt, we're going to be going after a Barioth. They're a 2-star weakness to lightning, so I'll get a little bit of extra damage in there. But as I mentioned, the goal of this build isn't elemental damage. It's more about your crit draw, and you know, if the thing happens to have an elemental weakness against you, so be it. I mean, longswords in general aren't really known for being crazy high on the elemental scale. You're more on sword and shield, dual blade, etc. And I actually have elemental build will be the next thing I showcase. But with this build, it's like, you know, you have crit element, so it's like you might as well. But before I was having, before I had crit element on, I actually used this build with paralysis longsword, the Viper Toby Kadachi. So if you've been watching the Iceborne series, all the stuff you see me use is Viper Toby Kadachi longsword up until I got this. But Zinni being a pretty late game monster. A while to get this thing, but god damn, it looks good. My flashbangs goes on because this guy likes to sit around. This will hit. He likes to jump and flip all over. Nope. having trouble getting good wall splats on this guy. It's like every time I think I'm about to line him up, he like adjusts his direction on his own. Oh, bro, I just healed. Getting him out. He's gonna hit me right off of it. Oh, shit. Come here. On down here. You notice I'm not always waiting till Frostcraft is all the way full. It's pretty much a like case-by-case basis. Like, yeah, it's good to wait for it if you can, but it's not like a you're pointless without waiting type thing, you know. Because you're still gonna do damage. The best way to think of it is, you know, when this is up, you get the extra 25%, but it's not a you know, I'm useless without having that type situation. So basically it's, you know, if you're waiting, if you have a counter that's about to happen, it's great because the counter is going to be extra strong, but I wouldn't wait every single time to get it all the way up, just because that's, you know, while you're waiting for that 25%, you're missing out on damage you can get from just hitting something. So just gotta be mindful about your usage of it. Starting to think I should have fought something else, the way this guy's jumping around. Not getting consistent hits on him because he keeps moving. Into the wall. See if I can get the good. Tell you what, the ice with the lightning on this sword looks freaking awesome. So anytime you hear that little ding, that means that we hit it with the same time as a counter. So, like I said, kind of a tight window, but not so tight that it's impossible to do. I honestly found it a lot harder to hit those counters. Like trying to time it while in the training area on the explosive barrel. I could not get it easily, but against monsters, for whatever reason, it seems like it's a lot easier to pull off. And there it is. Well, I think we broke his horns right at, yeah, we broke his tusks right at the end, too. Thank you, saber-tooth ice tiger. But anyway, that is going to wrap up the longsword build. Big takeaways here, obviously, your EI slash is going to be fat damage. It's honestly going to be the majority of the damage you're doing, is tossing out that EI slash, and then every now and then, if you get lucky, don't forget, go that into Helmbreaker. It's just, you know, when the stars align, you get the super anime finish. But definitely a really, really fun build to play, and it certainly kind of mixes up the longsword dynamic a little bit. So it takes a little bit of practice getting used to, since your playstyle is altered from how longsword used to be. I mean, that's the biggest thing it took getting used to, is after, you know, most of your attacks, you're going back into Sheath stance and going into your combo from that. So either way, guys, thanks for coming on by and taking a look at the build. Up next, I'm going to be covering a elemental dual blades build, which is really, really fun. I have an ice and a fire version so far that I've been playing a lot with. So I'll be getting that up and then probably switch axe after that. So thanks for coming by as always. If you like it and it helped you out, make sure to drop that like, and I will catch you guys next time with more Iceborne builds.